Welcome back. This is the LoDown. Damian Barley and Jason Ross.
Yeah, man.
The LoDown.
Hour number 2 here of the LoDown live over on KHTK.com. Of course, we are airing on Sports 1140 AM in Northern California and on the KHTK.com app as well. If you're listening on the KHTK.com app, just go to your browser and you could watch us.
Yeah.
KHTK.com. I know many of you did that from your cell phones, and we, of course, are greatly appreciative of that. We're greatly appreciative of all those who interact with the show as well. You can get us on the text line here at 441140. You can also get us on the Fire Wings hotline. Try one of the delicious 21 flavors of wings today. Fire Wings, just wing it, 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. Spent some time in that open, Jason, in that first hour talking about the NBA. Only 2 games last night, but Russell Westbrook and Paul George put in a big performance to get a very much-needed win against the Portland Trailblazers. Bucks continue to be dominant, beat the Indiana Pacers, who are holding on to the 3rd spot in the Eastern Conference right now by a half a game. The Philadelphia 76ers will take on the Houston Rockets tonight. Try to break down the Nuggets and the Warriors here just a little bit, and really the impact that Nikola Jokic has on that team. And gosh, that's it. You brought up a great point about what he might look like for them defensively headed into the playoffs. And again, you start to look at that Andrew Bogut signing going, okay.
Yeah.
You feel like they're tuning up for somebody.
Well, and that's when you get to, okay, so now we've not only talked about matchups, that's the regular season matchups. Now when you're diving into a team for maybe 7 games, and you go, all right, I got to find, what's the code? Where do we crack? What's the weakness? Where do we exploit? What can we do? And that's an area that people will attack the Warriors on. It was DeMarcus. That's an area that people would attack Denver on is Jokic. But that's smart. You got to do it. You got to find your ways to win. And if that's what it takes, that's what you do.
We're keeping an eye on all of the screens in front of us, both television and Twitter, because it's Antonio Brown Day.
Yeah.
And we're just waiting to find out what that means. We were told Antonio Brown would be traded today. And not just us, but teams were told, hey, get your offers in here, guys.
Yeah.
We'll get them all in by Friday. Apparently, maybe we're going to just put the offers in a hat and pull them out, and whatever name we pulled out the Buffalo Bills, and apparently Antonio Brown said, no, dog.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. That was just a trial. Best 2 out of 3.
So when you saw that last night, what was your? I mean, I was floored. Really? The Bills?
I can give you the 3 letters that were in the text exchange.
Yeah.
WTF.
Yeah.
Like, wait, what? The Bills?
Right.
Like, this is the most. This is a sneaky FU move by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay, you can feel however you want about that. If they got a good trade, then
sure.
Good for them.
Right, which is all they need to worry about. But then it's not a trade.
Did we even read the quote from the? Here it is. This is from Brandon Beane, the Bills general manager. We inquired about Antonio Brown on Tuesday, and kept talks open with the Steelers. We had positive discussions, but ultimately, it did not make sense for either side. As great a player as Antonio Brown is, we have moved on. And our focus is on free agency, which begins, I think, in about 4 days. The new league year starts. The legal tampering period starts on the 11th, and then free agency, I think, actually starts on the 13th.
Okay.
Legal tampering.
Right.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But Ian Rappaport sure reported like, man, this is...
It sounded very high confidence level.
Really, I mean,
yeah.
And I'm not going to totally knock Ian Rappaport. He said yesterday, he was the one who tweeted yesterday right before our show ended, hey, it looks like Denver and Washington, they're really motivated to work something out here with Case Keenum. And by the time our show ended, we got to your office, the deal was done.
Yeah, it was finalized.
So it was as finalized as it can be, as it can't be finalized until the start of the new league year, but it had been solidified, it had been agreed upon, and it had been reported to everybody. Antonio Brown was tweeting people last night and responding to people on Instagram that, this is fake.
Yeah.
This isn't real.
Wait, was that the $500 you pay him to wish you?
Not that one.
Not that
no,
one?
No,
Okay.
not that one.
That was something else.
He was just responding to a report that he was headed to Buffalo, and he said, no, this is fake. And it was like, well, there is a possibility that 2 teams could work a deal out without telling the agent.
Right.
And leak it to the media first, and then call and tell Antonio Brown's agent that he's been traded to whatever team.
Yeah.
That may very well have been the case, or Antonio Brown may have shut it down the second the first report came out and said, and again, we don't know this. I've found nothing that said Antonio Brown has veto power on a trade or a no trade clause. To the best of my knowledge, I don't know that those exist in the NFL.
Right.
Someone could correct me. For some reason, I'm thinking Peyton had one, but that flies in the face of what I just said. I know our research staff who text us here at 441140 will let us know on that. But
maybe it's like an unwritten one where it's like out of respect. Hey, this is who we're looking at. We'd like to trade you to this team. This is why. You okay with that? Or I don't know. For someone like you truly, really have a good relationship with and respect. I don't know if that's the case, but
do these two entities have that type of
at
relationship?
This moment, well, he seems to be good with Mr. Rooney.
He does.
But that's not the ultimate decision. Well, he's the ultimate decision maker, but not on the trade.
But there was also, I believe there was a discussion, there was a report, I think it was from Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, that said the Steelers may approach Antonio Brown and ask him to delay his due date for his roster bonus, which would get, again, that's not for like eight or 9 more days. Like that's not even, like we're not even approaching that time. But there was talk of that. So you obviously have to have some sort of amicable relationship if that's going to happen. There's no word on if it actually happened or not. But I don't feel like those two have that type of relationship. And the way that it's playing out in my head is Antonio Brown was told about a deal to the Buffalo Bills, and he just said, no, I'm not going to go play there.
Right.
Like, you can trade me if you want to. I'm just not going to go to Buffalo.
And then Buffalo could get cold feet. I mean, I would.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And remember, Antonio Brown was the guy who said the other day, I don't need football.
Right.
So if a guy goes on TV,
threat is legit.
Yeah, if the guy goes on TV and says, I don't need football, like I'm happy, I've made my money, I like football, I don't need it, and he tells you he's not coming, yeah, if I was the Buffalo Bills, if that's how this played out, if I was the Buffalo Bills, I'd be like, yeah, never mind.
Right.
Never mind, we good.
And that's why I guess when we go back to the first hour we were talking about, I mean, I'm totally with you on Ben Roethlisberger seems to be someone that's been difficult for a lot of people. Specifically, Antonio Brown wants no part of him anymore. He wants to move on. But I also think Antonio Brown, in this sense, that would give me some reservation if I'm a certain. Like Buffalo obviously has some reservations now. Mm-hmm. Like they were interested in acquiring him, and if he doesn't want the full buy-in, then why do it? And I think that's a sport probably every sport. I shouldn't just say football, that you have to have the full buy-in. Mm-hmm. You have to.
Yeah. Well, Antonio Brown is a trade asset. Free agency is going to begin, as we noted, in just a couple of days here. And there are a lot of teams with a lot of money to spend. If you were with us at the top of the show, and we were talking about Antonio Brown and potential landing spots and how we've heard, obviously Buffalo was brought up last night. They had never been brought up before. Washington had been mentioned. They acquired Case Keenum yesterday. Tennessee had mentioned, I had read a report that Tennessee has pulled themselves out of any discussions for Antonio Brown, and the other team that was mentioned was the Oakland Raiders. Obviously, we've heard rumors about the San Francisco 49ers, but we haven't heard anything concrete being put out about them actually being in the trade negotiations or them actually talking to the Pittsburgh Steelers. One team that we spent a lot of time discussing at the top of the show was the Indianapolis Colts. Mm-hmm. The Indianapolis Colts have a ton of money to spend, over $100 million in cap space. And we presented a scenario. Someone had mentioned, I think it was someone on the text line, Indy should go after Le'Veon Bell as well. And if you got both of them, and let's just hypothetically say you paid Le'Veon Bell top dollar, which $20 million.
Yeah, running back top dollar is different, but still, it's good money.
Absolutely, yeah. And then Antonio Brown, which we know I think is a $21-ish million cap hit. You still have $60 million to sign players this offseason. And you've greatly added to Andrew Luck's box of toys there,
right,
as Jay Ross would say. You want your quarterback to have some toys. And with T.Y. Hilton and Antonio Brown lined up on the outside and Le'Veon Bell lined up behind you, and I feel it's worth noting, playing 8 games inside, that feels like something to me.
Right. And, if you do that to your offense, then with that other room, we're just speaking about one team, the Colts here, but if you did that to your offense and you went after gosh, I just blanked on his name, the young guy from the Landon Collins.
Safety?
3-time Pro Bowler, still 25, I think. Man, you've just changed the whole dynamic of the perception of your team. They're already good. I think they're on their way up, and they've been on their way up. But that's a reshape, and that's a aggressive but awesome offseason if a team like that could do that, pull that off.
Yeah. And we start to look at, free agents and who can have an immediate impact on a team. And, I mean, Nick Foles, I guess Nick Foles is going to Jacksonville.
Right. That's what we all believe, right?
What type of impact will Nick Foles have in Jacksonville, though? I think is the question. Like, is Jacksonville is what they have enough to where I'm not a believer in Blake Bortles, but it feels like there's probably other issues on that team as well. The Colts, they were a playoff team. They're ready-made for a top-name free agent. Obviously, not one in the quarterback position, but a Le'Veon Bell. Landon Collins, Trey Flowers, those types of guys. But what kind of impact would Nick Foles have on the Jacksonville Jaguars if they have a lot of other gaps that need to be filled in?
Yeah, and I think the Jags may have it offensively, and I don't know if this is a fair comparison, but I think people thought, we're going to go back to Case Keenum, thought highly of the Vikings a couple years ago, and Keenum came in, had a terrific season, and so did they. And then the thought was, well, Keenum was nice, had a good year for us, but we need to upgrade, and we'll get Kirk Cousins, and then we'll be at another level. Well, that didn't happen at least last year. I feel like, obviously with Jacksonville, they're just 1 year removed from that incredible defensive performance, but that year still felt empty because they didn't have a good enough offense. Foles, I think, makes them better, but they still have the questions with Fournette. I know they were talking about even dealing Carlos Hyde. I mean, just they traded for him. Are they moving him? Are you keeping Fournette? TJ Yeldon? What are they doing at the running back position? They have some decent, skilled receivers. No high-profile names, but some guys that get it done. But maybe Foles makes all those guys better. So, football's the strangest one. Like, you can have a down year and then be back immediately.
Yeah.
So that division, as we said in the last hour, all 4 teams have made the playoffs in the last 2 years. So it's not really foreign to think, I can't imagine this team making it. Well, they all have in the last 2 years at some point.
And what does Jameis need? Down there in Tampa Bay, what does Bruce Arians want to surround Jameis Winston with? I joked that we heard Antonio Brown was going to be a Buffalo Bill last night. Like, would you be shocked if you heard Antonio Brown was going to be a member of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or Le'Veon Bell was going to be a member of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? You start to look at these teams where it's like, okay, I don't want to say the Bucs are set in their quarterback, but they're playing Jameis Winston this year. That has been pounded into our head.
That's this year's choice
since Bruce Arians was hired.
Yeah,
and we don't have to look into the future. We just need to look at this upcoming year, and that's what we've been told, that Bruce Arians is going to coach Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston is going to be the quarterback for this year. So what do you surround him with? Like, what makes that team better?
Yeah, and they, still had, obviously Mike Evans is a really good receiver. Deshaun Jackson is older, still a guy that can get some separation, but, man, Antonio Brown, I think for them, the intrigue would be more of Le'Veon Bell. As far as helping them. But, some teams, I feel like it's been quiet about Le'Veon Bell. Who are the teams interested in him?
I've only heard one, and it's maddening. I don't like it.
Yeah.
It's the Jets. And I don't know why. I don't know where that came from. I don't know. I don't know. But that's the only team that I've heard.
Yeah. But I feel like I know he missed a year, but I feel like he's got a ton to still give.
As a running back, if you miss a year, that's probably not a negative.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just like what he does both as a receiver and a running back. I mean, and I think the smart offensive coordinators will utilize him in a way that really benefits them and him and their skill set. And then, again, we just all marvel at his unique running ability, just the ultimate patient running back.
Can I throw another quarterback at you?
Sure.
Talked about Nick Foles and potentially the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Is this a free agent?
Yeah.
Okay.
Teddy Bridgewater. Is Teddy Bridgewater a starting quarterback in the NFL this year?
I don't feel like he is, but I don't know what – I wasn't that thoroughly impressed with him in Minnesota when he was given the opportunity. Not a bust, not anywhere near, and he should still be on a roster. A horrific injury, but I don't know that we have an answer on what he is. He should be a quarterback, but is he a starter?
It's going to be – this is –
I mean, do you sign? I guess my question: would you sign him as we're signing him to be our starter, or we're bringing him in because we're not quite sure we have a starter, and he has every opportunity to compete for the? Like I joked about Joe Flacco. Denver signs him. Hey, that's a competition. If Bridgewater beats him out, then you're the quarterback. If Flacco beats him out, you're the quarterback. That situation.
I don't know that I bring Teddy Bridgewater in as the concrete starter, but I bring him in with 100% guarantee he's competing for whoever is on my roster as the starting quarterback, with the exception of Jacksonville. If I was the Jacksonville Jaguars and I was signing Teddy Bridgewater instead of Nick Foles, I'm bringing Teddy Bridgewater in to be the starting quarterback. Okay. He's not competing with Blake Bortles. He's not competing with any other backup that would be on the roster. I'm certain whether they've signed Nick Foles, Teddy Bridgewater, whatever Jacksonville does with that quarterback position, Blake Bortles is going to be gone.
Yeah.
So whoever their backup is obviously isn't sufficient enough, and they're not competing for a starting quarterback position. But I want to touch on what you said about not being impressed with Teddy Bridgewater in Minnesota, because I want to try to put this into just the simplest perspective as I can, and you are welcome to tell me that this is completely unfair. De'Aaron Fox made a huge jump from season 1 to season 2. Imagine the season starting, and you're starting to see the signs of De'Aaron Fox and what he is and him being the way this season turned out. And then he gets hurt. Bad. And he doesn't come back. Like, he's not back this year. He doesn't come back next year. Hell, we don't see him again for another year and a half. I feel like that was the trajectory that Teddy Bridgewater was on, because De'Aaron Fox was good last year.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't great.
Right. He had a good season.
He was good. I feel like De'Aaron was really, really, really good this year. That was the belief of what Teddy Bridgewater was going to do headed into that season, that training camp 11 days before the season started when he got hurt. That's based on, I think, what was happening at the end of last season, what everybody had seen during training camp, what everybody had seen during practice. There were a lot of expectations on the Minnesota Vikings headed into that season. Not a ton. I think they far surpassed any expectations that were put on them, especially after Teddy Bridgewater got hurt. But he was ascending.
Yeah.
And he was headed, if you think this is a thing or not, he was headed into his contract year. He was about to showcase himself for the biggest contract he was ever going to get in his life.
Yeah. And I think his last couple of moves, he's just been in the wrong situation.
He wasn't going to play.
Yeah. In Minnesota, they go with Cousins, so he goes to the Jets. The Jets, it was they draft Darnold.
Never made sense.
Yeah, and then they still had McCown, so you're going to keep one of the veterans. Well,
right.
It kind of made sense what they did.
Right, completely.
Yeah, then you move him to New Orleans, which I don't fault them, but he was not competing. He was a security blanket if Drew Brees got hurt.
And the only thing that I like about that is, and I'm a believer in this with certain quarterbacks. I think Bridgewater probably got a lot out of his year in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
He probably got a ton out of his year in New Orleans. He got a lot more out of it than he would have sitting with Josh McCown and Sam Darnold. I think he got a lot more than he would have sitting with Kirk Cousins. But I understand it's hard to erase the last, is it 2 years now?
Yeah.
Since we last saw him. And even when we last saw him, it gets romanticized a little bit the further you are away. Man, Teddy Bridgewater was going to be this great quarterback. Now, Teddy Bridgewater had a very fine, average season the last time he played, but the belief was he was growing into an extraordinary quarterback.
So just looking at the teams, where does he land to compete for a job? Miami?
That's the one. I mean, I'm looking at the teams right now as well. Miami was
Cincinnati?
I don't think so, though.
Like a fair shake at competing for it.
Miami's the only one
in the AFC or the whole league.
Like, I'm looking at the entire league. honestly, he's not going to get a chance in Tampa Bay. He's not going to get a chance in Tennessee. Like, I'm looking at he's not going to get a chance with
They just did.
No.
Okay.
No, absolutely not. There's no one here. He's not in Chicago. Cleveland's got their quarterback. Buffalo has a young quarterback that they're going to ride out. Baltimore has their brand new shiny quarterback they're going to ride out. Obviously, Matt Ryan is in Atlanta. I don't know what Arizona is doing, but it doesn't involve Teddy Bridgewater. It either involves Josh Rosen or Kyler Murray.
How about Washington? I know they just traded for Keenum, but it wasn't like this big.
I don't think they would have done that first.
Okay.
If they were going to go, it doesn't make sense to sign a quarterback because Case Keenum is competing with Colt McCoy. Case Keenum wasn't brought in to be the starting quarterback. Case Keenum was brought in to compete with the guy who's already there, and that's Colt McCoy. Didn't Colt McCoy break his leg too?
At the end of the last year when
not in the
not in the same fashion.
manner that Alex Smith did, but I think he broke his fibula too.
Carolina,
a temporary in case he's not ready.
Ownership said, yeah. I mean, who knows? But that's the kind of situation he's in. So I don't know how
that one makes sense. But again, it's the only place that he can go, unless I'm missing one. In Tex Nation, you can tell us if we're missing one. That he has an opportunity to be a long-term starting quarterback is Miami. Because if he's going to Carolina, he's just holding he's keeping the center's butt warm until Cam Newton comes back.
How about I don't know what the front office plan is for the Arizona Cardinals. You've got the number 1 pick. That is a target for some. You could move that, go with Rosen for the time being, say you are, and sign Teddy Bridgewater.
Again,
but is that Bradford? Is that Mike Glennon? Is that kind of the collection of veteran guys that have started that you just go, oh, we're going to be bad. We're going to go with the young guy anyway? Or?
It just keeps putting him in the same position over and over again. It's the same position as he was in New York. He could have started over Sam Darnold this year.
He could have.
But that's not the direction they wanted to go, which is fine.
And that's what he's been stuck in, and I feel like he's in that same spot now.
But Miami is the only one.
Yeah.
Because Tannehill's not the guy. I feel like, well, I don't know. Maybe they feel like their coaching change is what's going to get it done for them.
Yeah. 49ers? Garoppolo, is he going to be ready?
You keep putting him into these same situations.
I'm trying to find a home.
Like all I'm trying to do, I'm trying to find him a place to be a starter.
Right.
And that's the only place I can find. Because Stafford's not losing his job.
No.
Deshaun Watson isn't.
Nope.
You look around. What is New York going to do? Is Eli Manning the starting quarterback? Because
I believe so.
I feel like Bridgewater is in between a veteran like Eli and a draft pick.
Right.
He's like right in the middle to where it's like, well, we're going to commit to one or the other. We're not committing to Teddy Bridgewater. We're going with the draft pick or we're going with our old guy. One or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Kansas City has the greatest quarterback that's ever walked on water.
He's a backup.
Washington would have been in the conversation before the trade yesterday. Marcus Mariota, they're going to continue. I don't know what Marcus Mariota is yet.
Yeah, but I don't know that they would say that's an upgrade. I don't think they would.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah, and I think it would be his job.
I don't think that's not a place for him there. Philly has their guy. They've made their decision. Pittsburgh has their guy. They're going to ride or die. And Oakland is a question mark to a certain degree, but it's similar to New York's question mark. We're either going with Derek Carr or it's a draft pick.
Right.
There's no in between.
Yeah.
We're not trading for a quarterback. We're not signing a free agent quarterback. And then, again, Teddy Bridgewater can be a backup in San Francisco. He can be a backup in Oakland. He could be a backup on any of these 32 teams.
That's it. I mean, I was looking at Baltimore, backup. I mean, they've committed to Lamar Jackson at this point. That's the thing. Behind Phillip Rivers, behind Aaron Rodgers, behind Tom Brady. Again, looks like he's in that backup spot.
Trent Brown and Landon Collins are going to be two names that have a lot of intrigue.
Yes.
Trent Brown's an offensive tackle. Those actually don't become available very often, at least not of his caliber. He'll probably be one of you're going to be watching quarterbacks. You're going to be watching Le'Veon Bell, but the team that signs Trent Brown, they're going to fork out a lot of cash, and they're going to be extremely happy. Same with Landon Collins, who we mentioned just a minute ago. The Oakland Raiders, we had mentioned, they have a ton of cap space to spend. They have a ton of money under the cap that they can spend. More than 75% of the Raiders' salary cap is going to the offense. To me, that says that John Gruden is going to spend 3 first-round picks on defense or something to protect his quarterback, whoever that quarterback might wind up being.
And at this point, I can't imagine it not being Carr, but they pick high. Would they do it in the draft? Would they do something else? I feel like they kind of made that choice last year. In my opinion, Carr or Mack, at least, high-profile, high-priced guys, and they chose the quarterback. Which
do you think it was as simple as that?
I don't know if it's as simple, but I think they wanted to clean up some of the roster salary, and their biggest targets were those two guys. And maybe they felt they could get more for Khalil Mack. They got some good stuff. I mean, we knew in the immediacy it wasn't going to be good for this team. And now it feels like you're going to try to draft somebody that's like Khalil Mack. You had him, but that's what I feel like they're trying to do. But I don't know if they kind of tested that and thought, what could they get for Carr? And when we just went through all this list of teams, where would Carr, if he was a free agent, what would happen with him?
Oh, I think someone would give him a chance.
A few teams would, but I don't think there's a lot of teams that he immediately goes in and, oh, yeah, he's starting over them.
Hate to bring up Miami again.
Right.
I mean, he'd start over Case Keenum.
Yes, he would.
He
for sure.
should start over Joe Flacco.
I agree. But it's not a huge list.
No, it's not. It's not at all. Would he start over Eli?
That's a team I know we talked about, like that kind of felt like a good fit, like just a fresh start for both. But, yeah, if
he's
he were
better
truly,
than Andy Dalton.
Is he? Is he?
I think so. Right? Validate me. I don't know. I feel
I'm
like
not
he
disagreeing.
is.
I'm not agreeing. I just like, are they the same guy?
One's the Red Rocket. One is
Not.
happy-go-lucky.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think they both have had moments where you go, that
Yes,
is a Pro Bowl
they
stud.
have.
And then other times you go, oh, my gosh, are they any better with this guy?
I'll say this, though. Derek Carr has never minimized A.J. Green. And I feel like Andy Dalton has done that.
Did he minimize Amari Cooper?
Amari Cooper dropped the ball a lot, man. It's time for two great shows in one place. No, I'm not talking about the LoDown live on KHTK.com and the LoDown on 1140 a.m. I'm talking about the Sacramento Boat and RV show this Thursday, which was yesterday, through Sunday at Cal Expo. We're going to come back. We're going to stick with the NFL. David Irving retired. We're going to kind of shift gears, talk less about on-the-field stuff, more about off-the-field stuff. It's the LoDown and the LoDown live here on Sports 1140.
We like the cars that go boom. We're T-Grow.
International Women's Day, huh? We went with the car that goes boom.
Sure, why not?
Oh, you know what that means.
You know it.
Oh, yeah.
What am I
Do we
forgetting?
have to wait? Can we do it now? Is it queued
No,
up?
you finished with that.
Oh, we're going to end with that. Okay.
What am I forgetting?
We're JJ Fad,
Oh, yeah.
and we're here to rock. Come on, Jason.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was it.
That's it.
That's
it. Welcome back. It is the LoDown. It is the LoDown live on KHTK.com. We are so happy you are here with us, Damian Barling, J. Ross, the champ. Cody will be back with us soon. If you'd like to sponsor the champ and Cody, you can call Brandon. He's on vacation, so you're just going to go to his voicemail. But apparently you can only buy sponsorships for the champ and Cody.
No sign for us.
No.
We know how we rate.
Which we've known this for a long, long time.
Good point.
916-923-6800. You can call Brandon and leave him a voicemail. That way, when he decides to come back to work, he'll have 1,000 messages waiting for him.
That'd be great.
Also, if you don't want to sponsor us, just call him and say hi.
Yeah. It was just his birthday. You could wish him happy birthday.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
If you all wouldn't mind, again, 916-923-6800. We would like for you to call and sponsor the LoDown Live, or you can sponsor Best and Worst of the Weekend. We can make stuff up for you to sponsor.
Sure.
But if you don't want to, just call and tell Brandon hi, and specifically tell him that the LoDown told you to call.
Yeah.
He will love that.
He honestly will.
I can't imagine anything he would love more coming back from his vacation than that right there. Do you have the David Irving audio from Instagram? David Irving, the Dallas Cowboys, he was going to be suspended, but I guess he has other ideas.
That's the blunt, bro. Weed, you're addicted to this and that. I mean, if I'm going to be addicted to something, I'd rather be marijuana, which is medical. It's a medicine. I do not consider it a drug, rather than the Xanax bars or the Hydros or the Seroquel and all that crazy that they feed you. So like I said, it ain't about smoking weed. How many NBA players you see getting in trouble about this? How many coaches you see getting in trouble about this? How many baseball players getting in trouble? How many UFC players getting in trouble? How many actors? You know, not many, but you do see as football players.
So that's David Irving. He just decided he quit, and he's going to go about his business. And I feel like he brings up a lot of fair points. This is a subject that's got to be debated a little bit, because there are laws in place. There are still federal laws in place, despite the fact that state by state by state by state are changing laws on marijuana and the use of it, including the state of California. Marijuana is illegal in all sports leagues, but how each sports league handles it is completely different. And I think David Irving made a great point there in his Instagram video. So many people are going to focus on the fact that he's sitting around, he's smoking at the time he's doing it.
Right.
Obviously, you can't see that. I'm sure many of you could figure that out on your own. But he's smoking at the time that he's doing it, and he's obviously frustrated by the process of the NFL. But he raises a great point. You don't hear about this in other leagues. You rarely hear about marijuana suspensions in the NBA. I'm sure there's a baseball one out there somewhere. I can't think of one. I don't know that the NHL even suspends people for this, and there was a very in-depth article. Chris, can we get this posted on the LoDown Facebook page when you get a chance? Chris sent us a great article about how the NHL deals with marijuana testing and potential discipline for positive tests as it compares to the other leagues. But in the NFL, it seems to be a very, very frequent problem in which we're constantly hearing about suspensions. We're constantly, this person is addicted. This person, Josh Gordon is very famous, though we know now by his own admittance, he had issues that far surpassed the use of marijuana. But it's something that is ingrained in the NFL right now.
Yeah, and I think we're getting closer to a societal change maybe in that. I think we do know, honestly, that there are some states that it's become legal, but not everywhere. That's part of the problem of how you put this into practice for these leagues. But I just think that perception of it has had this slow, gradual change, and there are people that will do it regardless whether it's legal or illegal. Now it's all right if you make it legal, then monetize it and figure out ways to make it a business, which has been productive, been pointed out to be very productive for some of these states. But I think it's a perception change that has been happening that is probably what the league. I know a lot of leagues are talking about it, but I think that's what they need going forward is more of that change because it's different. I think the perception of it is different than some of these other drugs that can really do some significant damage. I don't think it's being treated the same way.
And the stuff that he was talking about, Xanax bars and all of that, those are things that are readily handed out in NFL locker rooms. And I don't want to, beat up on the NFL and limit it to NFL locker rooms. I'm sure it takes place in hockey. I'm sure it takes place in basketball and baseball maybe as well. But we know in the NFL, we hear it all the time. Retired players talk about it all the time, man. I was, taking this to make sure that I could play that day, taking this to make sure I could, play the Sunday into the Thursday, making sure that I was ready for, the Wednesday practice or whatever the case may be. These are things that we hear about when guys retire all the time. It's like mum's the word when they're active, but the second they retire, man, they start spilling everything. Like Marcus Spears is one of my favorite guys to watch on television. He tells everything now that he's out of the league. And
Don Nelson.
It's Don Nelson.
What have you been doing? Smoking pot.
Smoking pot. Hey, it's legal. I didn't do it when I was a coach.
Right.
I'm doing it now. And you talked about, you and I have been open with the fact that this just is never something that we really did. I went into a dispensary for the first time like a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
It is incredibly, for someone like me at least, it is incredibly overwhelming. I don't know what is happening in there. Like there is so much going on. There's one right near the ice blocks where I was going to get lunch. I have to see what this is.
Yeah.
I had no clue what I was looking at. There were so many people in there, and there's armed security guard, and I'm looking around like, man, I don't know what's going on.
Different types of things. Like I wouldn't even know.
There's pipes, there's chocolates, there's like gummy bears. There's also then you have the guy. God bless them. They knew I was an idiot, so they were like, "Are you looking for something specific?" And I'm like, "Truthfully, I'm just looking to learn about this stuff." I've told you before. I've been very open about this. I'm screwed up. I got problems. And thanks to our audience who have sent tons of information to us every time we talk about this. I hear that CBD is really great for the body.
Yeah.
And now you're starting to see, and this is you used such a great word a minute ago, monetizing. Now you're starting to see like CBD oil and these claims of CBD being just almost this like magical drug, and CBD is the I don't know, is hallucinogenic the right word to use in terms of there's THC and CBD, and it's like now you're seeing it everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, here, put this in your smoothie or rub this on your bicep, and it's like, wait a minute, what?
Well, because there's been honestly some stories of maybe people with just crippling seizures, and then they have CBD or CBD oils and different things, and then they're talking or they're moving, and they're able to. It's like a completely different person. So that feels like a wonder drug. All right, well, I think in all of these things there needs to be more studying and more information, but maybe there is something there.
I am currently giving my dog CBD dog treats.
Yeah, so because it's good for relaxing them, right?
For his joints, older dog.
Okay.
So kind of like he moves around better now, I've noticed.
So the vet suggested that, or just what you read about? I mean, I'm curious.
A friend said that they were giving their dog it, and so they said it worked pretty good. So.
Yes, someone actually recommended CBD dog treats to me for Smoothie, my older dog. She hates the car. Not like she doesn't get sick. She's just so clearly miserable. And someone said, look into CBD treats to calm her down before you drive. Give them to her like 30. If you're driving to the Bay Area, which is normally, where I go, that's where my family lives. Like, just give her treats maybe 30 to 40 minutes before you go, and you'll find that she'll calm down long enough for the drive. And, she'll be okay for a while, but then you'll start hearing that heavy panting, and the only thing that, soothes that is rolling down the window a little bit so she can, put her head out, and sometimes that's not the...
Hey, same for me.
Jason, just cracked the window for old J. Ross. Eric Weddle was shockingly let go by the Baltimore Ravens. He has a new team, and it's the Los Angeles Rams. How about that? We're going to continue this conversation. There's a number of great texts coming in. Chris, I see you on hold. If you want to get in on these phone lines, you can. 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. It's time to call Sierra Pacific for this winter's best deal on a new furnace. Call Sierra Pacific right now, 800-551-3040. All right, Cody, we got the mailbag coming up at 2:30. Make sure you're with us. We'll get back into the conversation regarding Antonio Brown at the top of the 2 o'clock hour. We'll talk about your Sacramento Kings. They will be taking on the New York Knicks tomorrow morning, so make sure that you're with us for that. Again, that's coming up at the top of the 2 o'clock hour. Welcome to those listening on 1140 a.m., and welcome to everybody watching along. Episode number 2 here of the LoDown Live on KHDK.com. We are so happy that you are here with us. As always, we're so happy that you're taking part in the conversation as well here on the Jiffy Lube text line at 441140. There's a lot of... We do our research when it comes to this sports stuff, whether it's the Kings, whether it's the NFL, whether it's the NBA, but a lot of times you guys are our research, and sometimes when topics like CBD and THC and medical marijuana come up, and as they relates to major sports, a lot of people share their personal experiences. Like here's a text on the text line right here, 441140. I was in a car accident a while ago. Nothing helps with the pain, but I got some CBD cream and I put it on my lower back before bed. And I'm going to be standing or sitting for a prolonged time, and it makes it so much better and so much more comfortable for me. The pain pills mess up my stomach, and I'm always sick from it. That's what David Irving was talking about in the video, those pain pills being handed out and the damage they can do to your insides. Again, I'm not going to pretend that I fully understand CBD and THC and all of that stuff, but I do know pills mask stuff. They mask pain. They don't eliminate it. They cover it up with something else. And I'm not talking about a headache, because I get some nasty headaches and I'll take some medicine for that. But if you're dealing with long-term issues like a lot of what these people are talking about, you're not curing your issues by taking this stuff. You're masking it somehow.
Just covering it up. Yeah.
And it's unhealthy to mask stuff this way. That's what pain pills are. I mean, I know so many people that are freaked out by like Oxycontin and those Vicodin and those types of like super strong pain pills. People are freaked out by them. One, because I think part of them is afraid of addiction, but two, those things do some weird stuff to you. I remember being on Vicodin when I got my wisdom teeth pulled, and I had to come to work and host a radio show the day after.
Hello.
And I was trying to get my degree at the time, so I thought, okay, the idea was take one every 4 hours, I think it was, every 4 to 6 hours. And I thought, man, they make me feel weird. I've got to be able to focus. I got to do the show, and I got some schoolwork to do. I missed one dosage after getting my wisdom teeth pulled. And if anybody's ever gotten their wisdom teeth pulled, that was the last dosage I ever missed. Not only did I not miss another dosage, I doubled it and shortened the hours because I was freaked out by feeling that pain again.
Oh, that's smart.
Definitely. That is a logical way to behave. But I knew how bad that pain was, and I didn't want to experience it again. So they said, well, take one every 4 hours or every 6 hours or whatever it was for, 5 days. And I took 2 like every 3 hours because I was like, I'm never going to let that pain catch up again because that was horrible. And I feel like that's what happens with this stuff is people like, I got to stay ahead of the pain. I got to take another pill before it starts to hurt again. I got to take another pill before it starts to hurt again. And it's just tearing up your insides. And that's what David Irving is talking about in that video.
Yeah, and he would know. I mean, obviously, and he's not the only one. He's just one that went somewhat public, obviously, with the video, but that's gone viral. Everybody's seen it. But he's not the only one. There's been a lot of football players that have suggested this. The amount of pills that they had to take or felt they needed to take that they got comfortable with kind of ruined their life or kept their life going in that direction.
You want to get us on the phone lines, you can. 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. Lucky, we're going to get to you in a heartbeat. Zach, let's start with you. Zach, thanks for the call.
Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing?
Excellent, man. What's going on?
Right on. Hey, I just wanted to chime in because I was just sitting here agreeing with you like crazy with the whole CBD thing, and just a quick testament to it. My wife deals with like just insanely painful cramps during that time, and she was at the point where she was on the floor with like a heating pad and all this kind of stuff. And she's never smoked a joint in her life. She's just, super healthy, and not that that's insanely unhealthy, but you get what I'm saying. She's very straight edge and blah, blah, blah. So anyways, I bought her Vital CBD one day, and she's not against that kind of stuff at all. She just doesn't partake herself. And it was funny, like she tried it the first time it came around again, and she sent me a text that day, and actually, no, she left me a message. It was like 2 minutes long, just going, holy crap, like this is a miracle. I put a couple drops on my stomach and like instantly goes away. And and much healthier, obviously. I mean, you're taking painkillers that are destroying your liver. They tear up your gut flora, all that kind of stuff,
Yeah, no, 100%, man. That's cool, man. Thanks for sharing that, Zach. We appreciate it.
Yeah, take it easy, guys.
I think there are a lot of stories like that. We're getting plenty of them on the text line.
You see this text right here. There was one about Tourette's syndrome.
Yes.
And I lost it. Sorry. So many of them are coming in. Thank you for these texts.
Great show today, guys. I have Tourette's syndrome, and CBD has changed my life. No more pills that kill my liver. It's beautiful to know that at 22, I have a healthier way of managing my disorder.
So people sometimes, because TV is almost mock Tourette's syndrome, and they have made it that thing where you like yell out words randomly. I ran when I was running for the Pat Summitt Foundation. I think the first marathon I ran, it might have been the second. I ran with a girl who was doing a feature for NBC. She had Tourette's syndrome, and she was telling me about it and how that, she told me like, it's not what you see on TV. Like that's a very, very rare form of Tourette's syndrome. It's like involuntary movements that become excruciatingly painful for people. And I've heard CBD as a remedy for this from a lot of people with that condition. And I understand it's not legal in every state, but if you're talking about sports, wouldn't it be the NFL and the NHL as the two sports that you might want to think, maybe we don't have to say it's legal. The NFL doesn't have to put out a big press release that says marijuana is legal within our league. They just don't have to test for it.
Right.
They can just
take it off the banned substance, that kind of thing.
They can just plead ignorance and not look at it.
Yeah.
Marijuana is not a performance-enhancing drug. I heard I'm sure it was Stephen. I think it was Stephen A. Smith. You've got to be careful because it's against the rules and you don't want players coming to games inebriated. Like, well, wait a minute, man. Don't you got to outlaw alcohol then? Because you could come to a game lit on alcohol just as easily as you can on. And who's going to slow down their? Who's going to take an edible or a joint before going out to play football?
Right.
I think this is something people are talking about doing after games and on Mondays and on Tuesdays.
Yeah,
exactly.
Remember, Ron Artest with the Bulls said that he was drinking at halftime.
That's Ron Artest, though.
Yeah,
he was doing everything at halftime.
We shouldn't include Ron into
Actually, now that I think about it, we could probably have a million stories from the NBA in the 80s.
Oh, my gosh, I'm sure. With drugs that far are far more dangerous than marijuana.
Oh, yeah.
Far more crazy stuff was
Yes.
being done at halftime during basketball games in the 80s.
For sure. And
least
in all
that's-
sports.
Rumors.
Yeah.
Rumors. I mean, baseball players sometimes finish a game at 12 o'clock and are back at the ballpark at 7 the next morning. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
They've acknowledged, like many of those old-time ball players have acknowledged, and I'm not talking, I said old-time as if I'm talking about the 30s when you and Ken do that stupid voice. I'm talking about the 80s.
Yeah,
And the
same.
90s. Thank you. Thank you very much. So I know this was a heavy topic for a Friday. We had put it off for a couple of days. I thought David Irving announcing that he was done with the NFL, and the reason that he announced was that he was done with the NFL was a appropriate time to bring it back. It's time to call Sierra Pacific for this winter's best deal on a new furnace. Call Sierra Pacific now, 800-551-3040. We're going to come back. We've got the mailbag coming up at 2:30. We'll talk more about Antonio Brown. We'll get back to your phone calls. We'll talk Kings and Knicks as well.